You already know how it ends. Not because it happened. Because your mind went there first, ran the scenario, cast the roles, played the whole thing out, and now you're living in the aftermath of something that hasn't occurred yet. The conversation that goes wrong. The result that confirms your worst fear. The thing you love most, gone in the exact way you've already imagined it going. Stay with me. In a few minutes, we're going to bring this to God together. And the prayer is going to reach into the rehearsal and ask for something that anxiety cannot manufacture on its own. There is a particular exhaustion that comes from living in a future that hasn't happened yet. Not the exhaustion of something going wrong. The exhaustion of preparing, constantly, for the version of it going wrong that your mind has decided is most likely. Of running the scenario so many times that the imagined catastrophe starts to feel more real than the actual present. Of waking up not to your life, but to the movie of your life that ends badly, already playing before you've gotten out of bed. I know what this feels like. Not as a concept, as a lived experience. The specific way the mind locks onto the worst version and refuses to let go. The 2 a.m. rehearsal of the conversation you haven't had yet. The body responding to the imagined outcome as though it has already occurred. Heart elevated, breath shallow, the full physiological weight of a loss that exists only in the mind. And the exhausting part isn't just the fear. It's the arguing with yourself about the fear. The part of you that knows, rationally, clearly, with complete conviction, that you are catastrophizing. That the worst version is not the only version. That you have survived things before and would survive this. That the probability of the exact catastrophe you've rehearsed is lower than it feels at 2 a.m. You know all of that. And you rehearse the worst version anyway. Because knowing something is irrational has never once stopped it from being felt. And underneath the rehearsal, underneath the catastrophizing and the running of scenarios and the 2 a.m. movies, is something simpler and more human than anxiety, love. You rehearse the worst versions of the things you could lose because you love them. The relationship, the health, the person, the future, the version of your life that still feels possible. The fear is the shape that love takes when it doesn't feel safe. And you are not broken for feeling it. You are someone who loves things, and knows, somewhere underneath, that love comes with the possibility of loss. That is not a flaw. That is what it costs to be human and alive and attached to things that matter. Matthew 6 contains the most direct thing Jesus ever said about anxiety. And the word he uses, the one translated as worry or anxious, is the Greek word merimneo. It means to be divided. To have the mind pulled in two directions at once. To be split between the present moment and the imagined future. Therefore do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Do not be anxious about tomorrow. Not, tomorrow won't be hard. Not, the thing you're afraid of definitely won't happen. Not, your fear is irrational and you should stop. Tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Tomorrow carries its own weight. You don't have to carry it today. The trouble of tomorrow, added to the trouble of today, added to the rehearsed catastrophe of next week and next month, that is a weight no present moment was designed to bear. And then, something that reframes the whole instruction, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. The antidote to the divided mind is not the undivided mind. It is the redirected one. Not, stop thinking about tomorrow. But, bring the mind back to the one who already inhabits tomorrow. Who is already in the moment you are rehearsing. Who is already in the worst version you've been running, and in the versions you haven't imagined yet. The rehearsal happens in a future where God is absent from the scene. He was never absent from the scene. I want you to sit inside a garden, not the peaceful kind. Gethsemane. The night before the crucifixion. Jesus knows what is coming. Not in the vague way we know difficulty is possible, but with complete, detailed, unobstructed foreknowledge. He knows the arrest, the trial, the specific manner of the death. He knows exactly which of the people around him will betray, deny, abandon. He knows the worst version. And he goes to the garden. And Luke records something that stopped me the first time I understood what I was reading. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. Hematidrosis. A documented physiological response to extreme psychological stress, where the capillaries in the sweat glands rupture under the pressure of acute anxiety, and the sweat carries blood. The Son of God, in the garden, sweating blood. Not because his faith was weak. Not because he lacked trust in the Father. Because he was fully human, and the weight of what he knew was coming was pressing on his body the way extreme dread presses on ours. He felt anticipatory terror in his body, and he did not perform his way out of it. He prayed his way through it. Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me. He named the thing he was dreading. Directly, without spiritualizing it into something more acceptable. He said, I know what is coming, and I am asking you to find another way. And then, in the same breath, the turn that holds the whole weight of the Christian faith, yet not my will, but yours be done. Not my will. Not my rehearsal. Not my worst version. Not the scenario my fear has cast and directed and played on a loop until I'm living in it before it's arrived. Yours. This is not the prayer of someone who stopped feeling the dread. This is the prayer of someone who felt the full weight of it, sweat and blood weight, and then, without the feeling resolving, placed the outcome into hands that were larger than the fear. The cup didn't pass. The worst version came. And the worst version became the thing that changed everything, in ways that couldn't be seen from inside the garden, in ways that only became visible from the other side of the thing that was most dreaded. You are in a garden right now. You know the feeling of dreading something with your whole body before it has arrived. Jesus prayed that prayer from the same place. And then he placed what he was dreading into the hands of the one who could see what the garden couldn't. You can do the same. Here is what anticipatory anxiety actually does, and why willpower alone cannot stop it. The mind rehearses worst-case scenarios as an act of protection. It is the brain doing what the brain was designed to do. Scan for threat, model outcomes, prepare the body to respond. The rehearsal is not malfunction. It is the survival system doing its job, except applied to the future instead of the present, to imagine danger instead of actual danger, to scenarios that may never arrive instead of threats that are here right now. Which means, you cannot think your way out of anticipatory anxiety. You can argue with the catastrophe. You can counter it with probability. You can remind yourself that you've survived hard things before. And you will have this argument with yourself 47 times in the next week, and the rehearsal will continue anyway, because the threat detection system does not respond to logical argument. It responds to presence. This is why the instruction is not think better thoughts. It is bring the anxious mind into contact with something larger than the fear. Philippians describes this process with precision. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds. Guard your hearts and your minds. The peace doesn't explain the fear away. It stands guard over the place where the rehearsal begins. That is not a feeling you generate. It is a presence you receive. Before the prayer, let's just stop the rehearsal for one moment. Take a breath in, deep enough to feel it, and notice, right now, in this exact second, the thing you have been rehearsing has not happened. The conversation hasn't occurred. The result hasn't come. The worst version is still imagined, not real. Right now, you are okay. Not permanently. Not without fear. Just, in this second, the present is still intact. Exhale, and let that be enough for 30 seconds. You don't have to solve the future in the next 30 seconds. You don't have to find a way to guarantee the outcome. You only have to be here, in this breath, where the catastrophe has not arrived. Now, name the worst version you've been rehearsing. Not to dwell in it. To bring it out of the dark where it runs on a loop and into the light where you can see it clearly enough to hand it over. Say it plainly to yourself right now. The thing I keep imagining is, hold it, look at it. And then, before the rehearsal begins again, notice, the God you are about to pray to is already in that scenario. He is already in the conversation you are dreading. Already in the result you are afraid of. Already present in the worst version, not as a passive witness, but as the same one who was in the garden, in the cross, in the tomb, and was not finished there. He is not absent from your worst version. He is already in it. Close your eyes. Bring the rehearsal. The specific worst version you've been running. The scenario your mind returns to at 2 a.m., in the car, in the quiet between one thing and the next. The catastrophe that hasn't happened and that you've already lived through 100 times in the theater of your own mind. Bring it here. Not to perform faith over it. Not to pretend the fear isn't real. To place it, finally, deliberately, with both hands, into something larger than the loop. God, I've been living in a future that hasn't happened yet. And I'm exhausted. Not from the thing itself. From the rehearsal of the thing. From the way my mind takes what I love most and runs it through the worst possible ending, over and over, until the imagined loss feels as heavy as the real kind. I know this is not faith. I know this is fear wearing the clothing of preparation. But knowing that hasn't stopped it. So I'm bringing it to you. Not the cleaned-up version. The actual rehearsal, with all its irrational precision, all its 2 a.m. specificity, all the ways it has already cost me sleep and presence and the ability to be fully here in a life that is still intact. I think of Jesus in the garden, sweating blood, naming the thing he was dreading, directly, without softening it, and asking you to find another way. God, that's me tonight. I am naming the thing I am dreading. I am asking you to find another way. And I am trying, with whatever I have right now, to say the second part too, not my rehearsal. Not my worst version. Yours. I don't say that easily. I don't say it without the fear still present. I say it the way Jesus said it, with the dread still in my body and the outcome still uncertain, because the alternative is to keep running the loop alone. And I cannot do that anymore. I release the future I've been trying to control by imagining every way it could go wrong. I cannot protect the things I love by rehearsing their loss. I cannot prevent the hard thing by pre-living it 100 times. All I have done is borrow pain from a future that may never arrive, and spend it in a present that is still here, still whole, still mine. Take the rehearsal. Stand guard over the place in my mind where it begins. Be the presence that is larger than the loop. And what I receive in this moment, this quiet, this stillness, this exhale that reaches deeper than the anxiety has been reaching. This is not something I manufactured. This is my inheritance. The peace that transcends understanding, not the peace that makes sense of the fear, but the peace that stands guard over the place where the fear begins. It is mine. I receive it now. God, you are already in my worst version. You were in the garden, in the cross, in the tomb, and you were not finished there. Be in whatever is coming, and let that be enough to quiet this. Tonight. Amen. The silence of someone who stopped the rehearsal, just long enough to breathe, and is staying in the quiet before it begins again. You came here rehearsing, running the worst version, living in the aftermath of something that hasn't arrived, spending real emotional currency on an imagined future, and arriving here depleted from a loss that hasn't happened yet. And something shifted. Not the fear. The fear may still be there, quieter, maybe, but present. What shifted is where you brought it. You brought it into the garden, into the company of the one who also knew what was coming, who also felt it in his body, who also asked for another way, and who also placed the uncontrollable future into hands that were larger than the dread. Not my will, yours. That prayer didn't make the cup pass, but it made the cup bearable, and it made what came after the cup possible, in ways that couldn't be seen from inside the garden, in ways that only became visible from the other side of the worst version. You cannot see the other side yet, but the one you just prayed to is already there, standing in your worst-case scenario, not as a passive witness, as the same God who has never once been finished where the fear said he was. Come back tomorrow, not with the anxiety resolved, but with the willingness to bring the rehearsal here again instead of running it alone. The daily, quiet, unglamorous practice of choosing presence over the loop. That is not weakness. That is the bravest thing a mind that loves can do. If this reached the rehearsal you've been running, leave it in the comments. One word, one sentence, or just, worst version. We will pray for you. And someone watching will see it and know they're not the only one living in a future that hasn't arrived yet. And if someone you love is trapped in the loop right now, send this. No explanation needed. Just, he's already in your worst version.